They say when you wear Black Power Media gear, you can accomplish anything. You can play any and every position. Coaching, to kicking, to receiving, to running and juking. And, oh my goodness, I see that again in slow motion. Get off me. And you're going to have a lot of haters coming at you, but what you got to do is you got to shake them off, and get to your goal and accomplish it. And when that's done, it's a beautiful thing. I'm talking about going hard, extra, for that extra point. And when it's done beautifully, you talking about touchdown. Oh, and the crowd goes wild and they're celebrating with you and everything. Man, let's see that again. Nice.
Black Power Media, baby. That's how we do it.
Now go to blackpowermedia.org and get you some of that gear. Empower yourself today. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome. What's going on? Welcome. Guerrilla Intellectual University, Black Power Media. What's up, Kalanji? Jared Ball, Kalanji Changa. What's going on?
Live on arrival, you know what I'm saying? Here with the Dragon early this morning. Was good.
Oh, yeah. My lighting isn't right, but we're going to work that out.
Like that sometime, man.
Yeah.
You know, gorillas. We're lucky we got lighting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What's happening, good people out there in Black Power Media land? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
In the building.
Shout out to the remixers who are coming in, and to those who will see and hear this later. Welcome to you as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, invite others to join you.
You know what though, Jared?
I
think we need a new name for the folks who tap into GIU. This is a different program. It's not the remixes. So I'm thinking Gorillas in the Midst. You know what I mean? Folks in the chat, you know what I'm saying? If y'all
Gems
in the midst, that's right, on Mondays. You know what I mean? Where our Gorillas at? You know what I mean? Because the remixes, that's a different type of piece, you know. So we want to invite some Gorillas up in the building as well, because we want folks to know that if nowhere else, this is the particular channel, the particular platform and piece where you will get that book study and also political education in its finest and its rawest. I mean, so far we started off with a lot of great interviews. So, you know, definitely, on the whole GIU piece, I think that's been dope. And then we moved on to the books. For folks who missed us and this is your first time tapping in, last session we studied Frantz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth. And this session right here, we are on to George Jackson. This is Blood in My Eye. You know what I mean? And this is what, class 2 on George Jackson or what?
Yeah, episode 2, part 2. Dr. James is handling the people's business and will rejoin us for part 3 next week.
No doubt.
The schedule is on the thumbnail and in the links, etc. and so forth. So tap in.
Yeah. We got a lot of great stuff coming up this week before we get started. Whole lot of greatness. So make sure that if you haven't been a subscriber to Black Power Media, make sure you tap into that. We're now at 27,000 subscribers. You know,
right
so
on.
Shout out to all 27K y'all. And as our sister comrade Dr. Joy James mentioned last week, tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you get at least 1 or 2 people to join this platform.
She commanded it. It was the challenge.
Yo, man, you know
we all supposed to. I got mine. I already
got
surpassed my quota. Yeah.
Okay. I think I got mine
a few
too.
people. I got a few people to jump in and subscribe. So she was asking just everybody get at least 1 person, right?
No doubt. So I'm sure that all our folks that are in the chat right now, y'all definitely.
Hey, what's up, James? Ready? Do that too. Hit the like button.
Please do. But yeah, we have a good time today, I believe. You know, today's Juneteenth.
I'm looking for it. You know, yes, shout out to Juneteenth, and I don't mean to be disrespectful when I just say that I've just not ever. I just feel like it's a new attention being paid to the holiday, and to the extent that people do, or to the history, and to the extent that people do, let it move you ever to the left.
That's right. I mean, you know, it's funny that you say that, because I've never, and some of you may be offended by this, but I don't really care. I've never celebrated Kwanzaa nor Juneteenth. You know, and it's no disrespect to any folks that do. You know, that's all good. You know, but I don't feel like we've arrived at that particular juncture where we should, you know, whatever we celebrate should be despised by the enemy and not co-opted. You know, so you know, shout out to salute to Black August as far as the commemoration of Black August, which will be coming up as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's as close as I've come, and I don't and working with you these last couple of years has shown the insufficiency of my own commemoration of it. But that's the closest thing I've ever really paid much attention to as an adult, at least. I just don't. To your point about Kwanzaa, I've celebrated. I don't really, you know, I raised a couple critiques of it, etc. I don't, but yeah, I'm not big on much of anything. I don't think there's anything other than maybe, you know, like obviously loved ones' birthdays and stuff like that, and of course anniversaries.
Right. No, and that's
stuff like that. I'm just playing.
Yeah. No, that's honorable, and and again, you know, because sometimes folks get confused, and that's why it's good to wake up on a Monday morning with some George Jackson to get us back in action. You know what I mean?
There's no confusion with George. It is you may there's discomfort, there's fear, maybe there's excitement, there's maybe even in some cases disagreement, but there's not confusion. George is the most detangling untangling, clarifying force. You know what I mean? I mean, there's just no, this reread has been great. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
George's dreadlocks compared to locks. You know what I'm saying? And I say I have dreadlocks, and I know some people oftentimes they're like, you know, you shouldn't call it dread because you know, the white man said they dread. I want you to dread me.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I want you, my enemy should dread me. This is not for, you know, I'm not celebrating love, peace, and happiness with those who despise me, those who oppress me. So yes, and I hope that everyone out there, you feel my energy through your monitors, you know, because that's what I aim to do. Go ahead.
And as an opposing, not an opposing, but a balancing force, remember, when Bob Marley talked about the crazy bald head, he was not talking about the literal bald head. It was a state of mind.
I was checking.
It was a figurative state of mind. So there's no so the flip of that is in the George Jackson context, in the disruption context, I am a crazy bald head. But not in the Bob Marley context, you know. So I wait.
Word up. And you know, the beautiful thing about rereading George again and again and again and again, because for me it's mandatory to study George every year, particularly around Black August, as I mentioned. And I'm always excited about Black August. And I'm excited about Black August because it forces you to get on track, you know, if that's what you're into. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing that you know, in reading this particular section, him mentioning again and again perfect disorder. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what we have to bring to this thing. We have to bring perfect disorder because this the system is all the way out of order from as we'll talk about everything from you know, basic human rights to electoral politics, so on and so forth. And you know, it's funny because I have gotten I've seen a few folks criticizing the fact that we brought Cornell on here, and you know, you can sit back, relax, and whatever you feel like doing, because we're gonna do what we do, how we do it. Some people said we didn't lean hard enough. You know, what do you want us to do? You know what I'm saying? This is still YouTube, good people. You know, so.
Diallo said the same thing about it on the show Friday, and people were wanting in the chat were like, well, y'all should have had Diallo there, and y'all should have had, and for all the accuracy first of all, I think Diallo is 24/7. He's must-watch TV. So I'm not mad at people wanting Diallo to be, but in that moment, I felt like he was voicing the perspective you're sharing here, and I do not agree, in the sense, if for nothing else, people have to be aware of what it means. As I was trying to point out, there's a difference between giving a keynote presentation, right, and being on a panel, being interviewed, being the interviewer, that's right, being a host, being a moderator, and being a co-host. So it's and then obviously we were working with limited time. So I again, I mean, because the thing I keep getting is less criticism. What I keep getting is, and I admit it's a certain reaction to this, I keep getting people sending me, oh, y'all should have checked him out on this platform, or checked him out on that platform, check him out on this platform. And I'm like, nah, because again, I'm confident enough that I and we have enough experience with Cornel West and what he has and will say to know and to demonstrate that when he's on with us, it is different. And I have not watched this last round, I admit, but historically, I have not seen him engaged in the way that we are and are able to, given our collective experiences and backgrounds in this and longevity to a certain extent in this game. And right. So,
I would dare say that there's a science to this. You understand what I'm saying? And we could flip it and flow and do whatever we do and make it feel like it's an easy thing. But most people who criticize and critique, they don't do all the things that you mentioned, right? Because like you said, it is a difference between a lecture, a speech. There's a difference between a rally. You know, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you can get up there and do like 5 minutes of sound bites and knock it out the ballpark. But how
I can't. Yeah. See, that is my worst moment.
You know, it's funny that's like the easy moment for me. I can get up and stir the crowd. You give me like 5 minutes, I can get busy and you know. And the thing is, I always question, can I hold it down for an hour or two? And I have. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful, but that's not even, you know, to my detriment. I don't prepare for lectures and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like from my spirit and from my soul, I might jot down some notes or whatever. But if I don't have it in me, you know, there's no need to try to bring it out of me. You know, but the thing is, I don't, as far as like critique, like you said, you know, on any given day, I do, you know, and pieces in front of the camera or behind the camera. We're being interviewed and we're the interviewee. So, you know, like I said, it is a science and everything's easier said than done. But pound for pound, round for round, I don't think too many people rocking with Black Power Media. They're not messing with us like that. Stop playing with me, man. So, you ain't getting it like this. Don't even act like that.
But to be fair, if we got something wrong or didn't rise to a certain standard, I'm fine. We will attempt yet again on the 28th when he's back at 2 p.m. Wednesday the 28th. So we'll try again.
You're always welcome to get him on whatever platform you all have as well.
So that was the other thing. I was trying to gently, my man Diallo, I was like, come on, my man, like you've had a radio show for a decade. Get him on. Do it right. Devin, show us how it's done, my brother. I honestly, but in all seriousness, I see that to me.
Shout out to Diallo. Yeah.
Oh, no question. I would love it. That's what I was going to say. I would love it if Diallo could get, and I will help if I can get Diallo to get Cornel West on the Rational Radical with him. And I think he might need Skip to help him balance out a little bit. But either way, I think it'd be great. And others on this platform as well. Like I would love to see various interviews with West throughout this platform and on others. So but anyway, what can we do? We'll try to do better on the 28th.
Yeah, and I think that, and you all in the audience in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? We'll give it to you like that. I dare say like our interviews are different depending on what brand we're under. You know what I'm saying? GIU is one way, RSTV is another way. I Mix What I Like is something else. Earn Your Liberation is a whole nother program. You know what I'm saying? We try not to give you the same old two-step with everything we do. And it varies depending on who the guest is. You know, but like I said, you know, I know.
Oh no, let's not disrespect the two-step, Kalanji.
Oh, the two-step.
I've been living off the two-step for 40 years.
I ain't, listen, if y'all know me
it is
life.
It just it fits perfect. You could take it anywhere,
bro.
The two-step can go anywhere.
my two-step is awkward. My two-step is awkward. So you know, I'm like, you know, we said two-step. I'm gonna do three. Like my father used to tell him to go right, he's gonna go left every time.
But to your point, though, I think you're right. That we there's some different vibes and different variations we try to offer here, and I think it's dope.
No doubt.
I wouldn't be mad at this either. If we had a Deruba and Cornell West exchange, I think that would be potentially.
And they know each other in real life. I think
no question.
They respect each other. And speaking of that, for folks who missed that, speaking of Deruba and Cornell, go back to the Donahue interview back in
oh wow,
or something like that.
That's right. Yeah,
Mr. Soldier, Cornell West. When Cornell was in the audience, Deruba, who else was out there? It was
wow. Yeah, I don't even. That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, but check that out. Go back to that. But also, before I forget, tomorrow, since we've been talking about Green Party, I invited Jill Stein and Ajamu Baraka on to talk about the Green Party. Since Cornell said that they pretty much influenced his crossover from the quote unquote People's Party to the Green Party. So we're gonna have them come on and talk about what is the Green Party and what does Cornell mean to the Black community. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we think that's important. You know, we ain't just, you know, just go green for the sake of going green. What does this mean? You know. So anyway,
I look forward to checking that out. That's going to be great. So
and you're welcome to come on board as well. It was like, you know, just do the thing together.
I appreciate it. No, I maybe, but if whatever, however, I think I look forward to seeing that conversation. So I appreciate that for sure.
And that's an attempt at balance, because like we said, you know, we want to hear all sides of the coin. And I don't think that you can go to too many platforms that will deliver the way we are attempting to deliver. And that's not ego or anything like that. It is a result of our action work. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. That's why folks rock with us, not because we pay you to play. That ain't what this. You don't get paid to come on BPM.
No, we can't afford it. All of our budget goes to Diallo. So that's you know, he keeps the lights on around here. So
I'm at to rob Diallo then, man. Diallo, I love you, man. I know you're non-violent. Give me the loot.
We're gonna bring back 50s How to Rob a Diallo.
Hey man. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
anyway,
look, I'm an owner of this platform, but I rob all y'all if necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. There it is.
Run the jewels.
So we're all clear. We're all run the jewels. There it is.
Let me stop from somebody say that then. But anyway, welcome to BPM. We just chit-chatting early this morning. We're gonna get really serious because we have this guy. Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of
how you want to get busy, man. There's so much in here. How would you like to get us started this morning? Anything any in particular point or go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that if I'm not mistaken, we're starting on page 67 today.
Yeah.
And basically he talks about I mean, I can get it started if you want. We just flow.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So and I'm old school, folks, for folks that don't know. I don't know if Jared has a digital copy on deck.
No, they don't. I don't think they offer one. So I'm back to I got a new. I did reorder a new version because my original is just used.
You ain't gotta tell me. Even my
new
one
and reordered my shirt.
Okay. Look at
you know what I mean? Yeah,
man. Get a new one, man.
Yeah, I had to
listen, man. I had probably about 7 George Jackson shirts, and And I literally, 2 of them I gave people off my back because they were from different areas, and it was people I respected. And I actually literally took my shirt off at different conferences. Now you have to be very special for me to do that, and gave him the shirt off my back. And one brother, man, he put it on like right away. I'm like, man, you ain't gonna. He handed me his shirt. I said, no, my brother. I have another shirt, but
Right.
I'm not gonna put on yours. But if you gonna put mine on, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm clean, you know. But anyway, so we're we're gonna start.
The women in my household, I love them to death, but all I'm gonna say is that when it comes to clothes, they're thieves. So I'm just leave it at that. My lovely thieving.
Hey, but don't you like how they'll try to sneak wear, and then that one day they get caught with it. They get so comfortable they forget it's not theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Wear my shirts like pajamas and whatnot, and all of a sudden it's like I'm like, hold up.
Right.
Anyway,
hey man,
but
so
for sure.
So basically, as you all know, if you don't know, we're breaking down the book into sections because it doesn't really have chapters. With Blood in My Eye, we broke it down in chapters, but this time we just I think Jared just chose a bunch of pages. I don't know what.
Actually, I didn't do this. This wasn't. I thought you did this. I thought you broke it up this way. It wasn't me. I'm following. I'm following the script. Maybe. Yeah. I think
Joy
Professor James laid this out. Somebody did. I was just following orders.
I was confused. I'm like, y'all got a lot of pages. You know it wasn't me. I had like 4 pages. But anyway,
that's probably what it is. Dr. James is like, you
want to be in university?
It's probably like,
Yeah. She could write 3 books in a year.
Yeah, she probably. Yeah, I'm over here slow reading. Anyway, but
yeah. But so we're starting again on George talks about infiltration.
Yeah.
And in infiltration, he talks about placing soldiers inside the various police and military forces, some of my more gifted comrades, so on and so forth. Then he goes on to talk about ambush, the importance of the ambush and how that whole thing goes. And then he talks about camouflage. And part of the whole camouflage situation that we kind of talk about, and shout out to our brother Balogun. One of the things we talk about in USPI is gray man. You know what I'm saying? Being able to fit in. I think that you can tell folks who are, one thing I think remember Rudy talked about was, he said, how can you tell a warrior when you see one, or a guerrilla when you see one? And the answer was you can't. You know what I'm saying? People have this fantasy idea of, the more fatigues you have on, the more uniform you have on, the more medals and flags and, revolutionary wear you have on, that makes you official to the bone gristle. When in fact, that's the furthest from the truth. So George talks about camouflage and everything from, safe houses to the vans that they would drive or whatever, so on and so forth. But then he goes on to talk about autonomous infrastructure. And that's we're going to start with that. We're going to play a little more focus on that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just real quick. I wanted real quick on if we could on the point of the ambush. I wanted to come back to that because
cool. Right.
Real quick, because he's already in the book, as we talked about in the first part. This is the military strategist version of George that was removed by intention from Soledad Brother.
Correct.
So this is him saying, I know I'm not going to live. I know I'm about to be killed, and we need to have a war. So this section and so much of the book is focused on property relations and combat.
Right.
That how are we going to tactically turn this place into something that is ungovernable, does not work. So when he's talking about that, to even enhance what you're saying about camouflage and the point about the guerrilla, the line he has in this ambush paragraph, because it's only a paragraph, there must never be any front lines or defending of territory. I've been stuck on that for weeks.
I'm so glad you brought that back. I'm so glad you brought that back because
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, rock on.
Well, man. He's saying, I mean, he's saying he's recognizing we're not winning some straight up battle. We're not going to war with the U.S. Army. We're not fighting the and on some way it helps understand why he understood that this was possible. Because when we see all the jets flying and the ships mobilizing and the armies moving, people get like, oh, damn, I don't want none of that. But he's like, no. We're not doing that. You don't have to do that. And so he's saying we can't defend a territory. We don't have the military capacity to defend a community. We don't have any land that we have autonomous control over. So so he's saying everywhere must be a site of conflict or a potential site of conflict.
Right.
Attack, retreat, attack, move. There's never one spot where they can line up and go to war. Anyway, I'll stop there. I just think it's
it's kind of the difference between like these offensive formations that we know of from the 60s and 70s compared to the defensive ones, right? So the beauty of groups like the BLA, for example, was that there was no uniforms, there was nowhere to sign up, it was clandestine. You know what I mean? So you're hearing, and it was so sharp and hardcore that you're hearing stories of the BLA years later, 50 years later, on Black Power Media from folks who are declaring their involvement, right? But you're not, it wasn't a situation where, they're just doing books on the BLA and so on and so forth, because it was like you said, it was guerrilla. It wasn't like, okay, boom, sign up at this office over here so that we could be infiltrated. You know what I'm saying? It was a hand-picked situation. And I think that's what George is talking about. That's what a lot of the prison movements were about, because they were able to exist and coexist amongst their enemy. And just like the Maroons or the Land and Freedom Party, which they call the Mau Mau, at the right time, it was action. You know what I'm saying? They caught them slipping, caught them sleeping. You know what I mean? When the drums sound, then them sharpened sugar canes become weapons. You know what I'm saying? The machete becomes a weapon. You know what I mean? So I think that this was that's a beautiful reminder of what guerrilla warfare is. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how that Fidel was a great example of that. He didn't just go say, okay, boom, we going to war, let's put your dukes up. You know what I'm saying? It was a movement. And it is so no, that's definitely
and I don't want to ruin it, no spoiler here, but I will say again, I just think of the movie Syriana and how it ends, and specifically even why that was and how it ends speaks to the exact role I had to play on a gun mount on an aircraft carrier. And maybe one day we'll come back and do something on that. But that's a whole, but that's what George is talking about. There's no, anyway. So I just, that was one piece on this, that was, that I wanted to, anyway. So I'm happy to.
And it also takes out that part right there as well. It takes out the fronting. Because there's so many fronting aspects of movement right now. You know what I'm saying? Folks really want to be seen. They want to be seen more than anything. Look at us. We're doing this right here. Send us some donations. Look at this, doing this over here. Give us a grant.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look what we doing. Lights, camera, action. Some things are great to inspire and boost the morale of the people, but it's a thin line between inspiration and desperation, because some of the movements are quite desperate, and they're literally about funding. You know what I'm saying? And I hear folks talking about, you know, things have changed, not for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. This ain't, you know, it's crazy right now, man. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and well, to your point about fronting, I mean, and I even have a point that there's a section I'll wait till we get to it that I wanted to bring up where he talks specifically to, I think, the point you're making there, that there's no room for this is what I'm saying. Like with George, it challenges everything we all think about, because he's like, there's no, if you don't have the willingness to engage in greater degrees of violence, you cannot protect anything. You cannot do anything. And that is at least his argument.
Right.
Speaking again for myself, it's a very discomforting argument, but it's a level of clarity that I think is I don't know. It's hard to dismiss, at least. It's so anyway.
But not only that, in reading this, when you read Blood in My Eye, you understand why they had to take George out.
Oh, no question. He can't. Yeah, there's no question.
This
is no question.
He never saw this book published. You know what I'm saying?
And he knew he wouldn't.
It was like, no. And this was like, this was the coup de grace. He's like, I'm gonna leave y'all with this, and do what you want to with it. But this is how we going out right here. You know what I'm saying? And this is what a lot of folks aren't willing to give. You know, I think that it is, and folks hear me talk about ancestral treason all the time, right? I really feel that with what our people have gone through historically, with the colonizers, with the oppressors, for you to stand up in 2023 and play with this, that is high treason. It is a criminal act for you to get up in front like you're about our people's liberation, when so many of our brothers and sisters were martyred, shackled, beaten, and still unbroken, unscathed. Someone like George, who went out, like he talked about his brother Jonathan, going out with 2 guns in his hand. It's like George went out the same way, from a metaphorically and spiritual perspective. You understand what I'm saying? Because this right here, this is a weapon. I mean, I'm literally, I mean, I see why it can't be in the prisons, but I'm actually surprised that it hasn't been banned yet, you know, on the streets, because this is a manual. But anyway, I'm sorry, man. I just went into
no, it's all good. So I interrupted you. You wanted to I think go on to autonomous infrastructure, the next section.
My bad, good people. Y'all bear with us. This is like it's church sometimes, just talking about George. But so again, he talked about autonomous infrastructure, and you know, the goal being to he starts off talking about the goal being to wear away the establishment's ability to produce and distribute goods, defeat its war machine, or organize any sort of social activity. Then, of course, we must at the same time provide ourselves with the means of performing these functions on at least a subsistence level. On page, and then he goes on to talk about, he talks about Huey and what Huey wrote about in regards to survival programs.
And but he's also talking about dual power, which we hear a lot of discussion of now too.
Oh, we about to get into that? Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
no. Well, I only interrupted you to say, because I'm fascinated by what George says here. There's a couple things he says here that I'm not sure. I wonder if I agree with, or if it doesn't even contradict.
Which part you talking about?
Well, part of it is I'm thinking about when Daruba was on with me recently to talk about the Dear Mama series. Mm-hmm. He was very critical of the popular conception of the survival program.
Right. But I think I know you're going with it, and I understand, mm-hmm. and I'm with you on that when he talks about the whole survival program part of it. But keep in mind one important aspect. George is in prison. This is 1971 when he's writing this, and he's going by what information he has inside of the prison library and what he's getting from the Black Panther Party. So he's kind of getting secondhand smoke. Remember, he was never a part of the Black Panther Party on the streets. He was drafted as field marshal while in prison. So yeah, I agree with you. There are several points that I read in the book. I'm like, okay, well, this is a little off, but overall, and he's 29 years old when he's assassinated. But go ahead. I definitely.
So I'm not even bringing it up to say who is right or wrong. I'm just bringing up, well, maybe just to bring out that point that you're making there. But you know, the question of did he, because in the Who Killed George Jackson book, it is argued that he was becoming distrustful of Huey. But in this writing, he's clearly trusting Huey's analysis of the survival program and all of that. So that was just floating in the back of my mind. But the first thought that I had about a contradiction was that on page 70, when he's talking about creating, first he's talking about healthy, spontaneous mass looting and the creation of a perfect disorder. Right. But in that same paragraph, he's talking about the development of dual power, which would include, we will start from the beginning to build our own infrastructure in every possible area: people's stores, hospitals, banks, buses, army.
Right.
So the contradiction, or what I think, I wonder is a contradiction, is A, he does what most people don't do today when they talk about dual power. He includes the army aspect of it. Right. Which most would not do. But I'm wondering to what extent he thought it was possible, or it would be possible, to maintain even the survival programs he starts talking about on the next page, as you are trying to create a perfect disorder, which involves guerrilla military tactic and activity, where if you are disrupting, in other words, if you're making the normal function of this society impossible, then the trickle-down effect would also be that all of the goods and services that even would be expropriated in the development of dual power would also cease. So if nobody's getting food delivered, if nobody's getting, you know, services working properly in order, then how do the survival programs work?
Well, I think
anyway,
from what you're saying, my thought on it took me back to Wretched of the Earth with Fanon talking about how you had to pretty much destroy their infrastructure, not even use their shit, and rebuild your own, right? The survival program is what? Pending revolution. So that's a Band-Aid. You know what I'm saying? You might need a bandage while you at war because you got cut, but that don't mean that Band-Aid is going to be a permanent fixture on your arm. That's to stop the bleeding. So he also talked about, with the survival programs, a little bit beyond that, he talked about being able to feed the troops, how the people had to take care of the guerrillas. And that's sort of like what went on with Che around, you know, when they were at war and whatnot. I believe in, was it Bolivia? When the folks were leaving out food on the clotheslines and whatnot, because that's all they could do. They would hang out pots so that because they knew that Che and his crew was coming through. So in order for them to eat at night or whatever, they left pots of food for them to be able to, you know, to carry on. That was a form of survival. That was a survival program in and of itself, right? But I think that he's talking about, when he's talking about the whole perfect disorder, disrupt their system, but also he talked about providing what do you call it? Like not stockpiling, but yeah, to an extent, just you know, foraging food and prepping. He talked kind of about, you know, it was survival preparedness, you know, because okay, we know that this is coming along. We have to totally dismantle what they have and rebuild our own. So that's how I took it. And
I get it. I get it, and it's not in a disagreement. I'm just trying to think through how this works, right. because even someone in, you know, I saw you know, yeah, I see what I'm gonna get out the chat, because I see some of the comments about it's not a contradiction and it's, you know, Robin Hood and all this other stuff. But what I'm asking is, on the one hand, if you're you're talking about having guerrilla units moving around with no territory to defend or strongholds to protect. At the same time, in other words, how do you Robin Hood if you are disrupting supply lines of the enemy, which is of course necessary, but you don't have your own? So theoretically, as I've understood it, when two militaries are in combat with one another, and you disrupt the supply lines of the other, you disable their ability but their supply lines are independent from your own.
But their supply lines, right? But
here, their supply lines, in effect, ultimately are the guerrillas, are ours.
Right.
So,
but that's what guerrilla warfare is, though, because you're going into these territories with empty hands, right? So you have to, you're not. When we think of war, it's not like, you're gonna have a train full of bullets that somebody's bringing along. That's ideal. But at some point, that shit gets separated. So you got to take your enemy shit. You know what I'm saying? So you have to somehow, you're eating what's in the belly of your enemy.
mm-hmm.
So you have to,
But that's my point.
Yeah.
But you've cut off the food to the enemy.
Right.
So at some point, it's going to starve even the ability to snatch what they have and reappropriate it. That's all I'm trying to think. But then because then also he talks later about he's talking about the inability, if you don't have the ability to defend militarily with greater violence, the projects you're developing, they will be wiped out. So as he's talking about the development of dual power and our own banks and stores and armies, all of which would have to be supplied, at least initially, through the supplies of the dominant opposing force.
But it has to be simultaneous, though, Jack. You know what I'm saying? You still gotta, the farmer still gotta farm. You still have to, you still have to, you have to prepare beyond the fight. And I think that one of the mistakes that a lot of our folks who are in quote unquote movement circles make is they're not looking at what happens after the victory. We're just looking at the fight. You know what I'm saying? After everything is broken down and everything, the communication is destroyed. Everything is ripped up, so on and so forth. You still have to rebuild, but it has to be a simultaneous thing because we still have to survive.
So that's the part I'm stuck with, though.
Right.
Because that's the part I'm stuck with, the simultaneity of it. So if at one point you're trying to develop, if at one point we're trying to develop autonomous survival program versions of banks, stores, armies, etc., and so forth.
Right. We already have the skilled workers, though, right? So
it's not, but
using the military.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the military, right?
Yeah, it was a glorified janitor, but yeah,
no, all good.
No disrespect to janitors, but I don't want to. I don't want to make it seem like I was out there doing Rambo.
Hey, listen, man. If the floors are slippery and the gunner busts his head, then you know what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
The role was important. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Dry the shit up, right? But my point is, I'm saying this right here, right? So the U.S. goes into different territories, they invade, and they take over, right?
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, and I hate to even use the U.S. Army, but anyway, since you were in the military, you have different things going on at the same time. Just because you're at war didn't stop you from being that janitor. You understand what I'm saying? The floor still had to get mopped. It wasn't like, oh, I don't have to mop.
Right. But my point is that the ability to supply me with a mop was independent of the enemy's or our combatants' ability to develop mops. So I didn't need to get my mop from whoever the army or the Navy I was supporting was conquering. So that's the part. So that's the difference I keep getting stuck at.
But do we need to get our food sources and everything? Do we need, I mean, seriously, do we really have to, we rely on our enemy out of convenience. We rely on our enemy because we're lazy. You understand what I'm saying? There are a number of black farmers, here in the South. We have brothers.
But there would be, that's the part though, there would be no farm. So that's what I keep saying. If there's no territory,
though.
because I'm going back to his first point that for today's that initial point. If there's no territory to defend, if there's no front line,
right. Well, of course, like you said, I can understand what you said.
Then, because what I'm saying is, as all of this is happening, as these guerrilla efforts are happening to disrupt this, to expropriate that, to assassinate that, to do this and that, the idea that there's this farm independently operating to produce sustenance for that operation, I think that's where I get stuck, because even I can imagine very easily if the state is saying, okay, there's this pocket of military activity. One of the first things they're going to do is shut down any nonprofit or business or black this or allied that looks like anything that could be. And then as he comes back to later on, if you can't defend it, it's not going to work. So that's the contradiction or the loop I feel like I'm stuck in trying to interpret or reinterpret what he's saying. That,
I mean, if you can't defend your house, you know what I'm saying? You know, it ain't yours. Your house. If 8 folks come and they say, look, we want your wife and kids, and we like this house, and we move it in, and we got guns. Y'all have to have some type of collective response, or you become slaves. And that's the reality of it. And that's what goes on every day with these particular troops.
Okay, so let's take that microcosm.
Yeah.
So someone invades this house, and this house becomes the battlefield that George Jackson is describing as the entire country.
Right.
While trying to develop some internal guerrilla effort to disrupt the normal function of the conquered house, I would have to be depending on the function of the house for sustenance. So if I cut off the water line and the electricity, then I no longer have water and electricity even to appropriate or reappropriate for my own struggle against the conquerors of my house. So if I cut off the house's ability to bring groceries into it for them to feed themselves, then there's nothing for me to steal and reappropriate, or it reduces the capacity for me and mine to reappropriate as we're sneaking around the house or whatever we're doing to take it back over, or to simply make it untemp. So that's the part I keep getting stuck at. So if it becomes, so that's it. So
that's why preparedness is key. So the thing is,
right, okay,
okay, we, of course, now let's not get it twisted. None of these brothers and sisters are our leaders. You know what I'm saying? We'll quote Jalil and say we are our own liberators, right? George is a martyr. You know what I'm saying? Let's be realistic. And he has some great writings and some great thoughts. And that doesn't take away anything, but this one book or this one particular moment in time is not going to define how we win or lose. It is not our defining piece. George is not, you know what I'm saying? He's not the creator of all that exists in movement and struggle.
How dare you blaspheme?
I mean, you know, he was looking at Huey as a forerunner. George was interested in revolution, and he gave us what he had from his perspective in those 10 years that he was locked up. 11 years.
So even as I raise these questions, it's just me trying to work out the thought.
But let's get back to the household though. Let's get back to the household.
All right.
Preparedness. Knowing that we are under the conditions that we're under right now, this means that your family has to deal with some type of survival preparedness apparatus, some type of program now, because you're on this platform and you talk about this thing. We have all kinds of people all the time, so there has to be a contingency plan. Okay, if someone bum rushes the crib, this is the way. Who's the fastest runner? Your daughter plays soccer, you know what I'm saying? She got it in order, whatever. Boom, run to such and such house. We're gonna hold them down right now, but y'all go ahead and get out the house. You know what I'm saying? The wife and I, we're gonna fight them tooth and nail, and then if we have to submit or whatever, play it off. You know what I'm saying? Then do that, and you go get the other troops. You go get the ear doctor. You go get, you know what I'm saying? You know,
oh, we in trouble then.
Hey, listen, man.
We call it the ear doctor.
Come to FTP. If you don't want the producer dancing all in your video, anyway, shout out.
If I look up and I'm looking at the ear doctor coming to save me, I'll be like, oh, Lord, Lord, Lord.
I don't even know how we got there, man. We went from Diallo to the ear doctor. Anyway, let's get back to the book.
I didn't mean to hold this up. It's just, my point is, these are just some of the thoughts that run in my head quite often.
It's understandable, but don't get paralysis of the analysis.
All right, no problem.
You know,
yeah, right on.
We get stuck. We in the middle of the battlefield. You can stop and shoot that. It's like, wait a minute.
No. At that moment, you know, what did Biggie say? Stay low and keep firing, and then I'll get back. I'll figure it out later. Anyway, it's all
Biggie say stay low and keep firing. Of course, he didn't take his own advice. However,
oh man,
that's not a diss.
Ouch, shots fired, pun intended.
I ain't even made it like that.
No,
but
no.
Yeah, we gotta rethink our strategies, man. But
all right.
This next part, sorry about that, y'all. Jared threw us off.
I did, my bad.
Jared, like, no, we ain't gonna be able to eat. But anyway,
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So we know that we take the best parts. So we know when you're talking about that dual power, that'll probably make more sense than you just saying that, okay, boom. Yeah, we can still cut off the enemy's supplies and all that. Temporarily, we have to have some type of, okay, we got farmland here, we got farmland there. Who's handling that distribution? What part of the military? You know what I'm saying? Because really, for me, at some point, the political and the military becomes one. Because if the farm is attacked, the machete has to become a tool of war. You understand what I'm saying? Those pitchforks, whatever you have, those tractors, you know, it has to become a tool of war. You know, if you could train the bull, then, you know, shit, bring the bulls out on them. Whatever you got to do. George goes on page 71. He's talking about, and this is a good time for this, electoral politics. He said,
he raises, did he say, I was like, man, I think he's telling me I'm wrong. And Tony Montero, Dr. Anthony Montero was right. Because if folks remember when Montero was on with me, he argued that we should have and should indeed in the future vote for and support Trump to heighten the contradictions. And push, that's what he said. And
right.
And
now, I never said, yeah, no. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying on page 72, George says the fascists already have power.
That's right.
The point is that some way must be found to expose them and combat them. And an electoral choice of 10 different fascists is like choosing which way one wishes to die. The holder of so-called high public office is always merely an extension of the hated ruling corporate class. It is to our benefit that this person be openly hostile, despotic, and unreasoning.
Right. Now, right before that, same chapter, same paragraph, he says, the warnings that are thrust towards self-determination will bring on fascism are irresponsible or better, unrealistic. So, okay, boom. We did the whole CNN special. That was my argument. Okay. It wasn't to vote for Trump, but the reality is the contradictions has to be heightened. You know what I'm saying? We need to know that white supremacy is what it is. It's fascism, no matter if it's coming from Trump, from Biden, and whoever else. You understand what I'm saying? So that was that part that you're talking about, an electoral choice of 10 different fascists, and is like choosing which way one wishes to die. That crushes the argument of the folks that's talking about if we vote for Cornel West in the Green Party, he's going to take away from the Democratic Party.
Well, but it also crushes the argument that we should vote for Cornel West.
Absolutely.
And it's saying we should abandon that and vote for Trump.
Well, I don't know if you're saying we should vote for Trump. I'm saying I think that he's saying
it is to our benefit.
It is to our benefit
if the person is openly hostile, despotic, and unreasoning.
Right, but that don't mean vote for him.
But if it's to our benefit,
I mean, in other words, it don't matter. So you know what I'm saying? You want hey, look.
No, he's saying it does matter. It matters to the extent that it's better.
If you're gonna bring me hell, bring all the flames and the fire. So I know that when I'm making my choices, you know what I'm saying? Either this is what it really looks like, or it's like Clinton compared to Reagan, right? Or Biden compared to Trump. Remember, Biden was on some, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And then he went and got an all-black neo-colonialist fascist regime to show you that your blackness don't even matter when it comes to fascism. You understand what I'm saying? He got damn near his entire cabinet is black, from the spokesperson to the damn vice president, and so on and so forth. His top generals, the whole nine, just to show you that, yeah, I'm on your side, because we're caught up in the culture, but we're not caught up in the politics. But moving right along, Jared just got up from his seat and whatever. I think that
no, my bad. We got I just wanted to
you did a Kamal just now. But anyway,
some folks showed up to do some work around and I wanted to close the windows and try to reduce some of the noise, because I don't want
yeah, but
I don't want them snitching on me. We talking about George. No,
exactly. But I agree with
as we do it on YouTube live
all the time, right?
By the way, he shouts out BPM 50 years in advance of BPM on page 72. So I just wanted to acknowledge that George was prescient, because he said that we are faced with two choices: to continue as we have done for 40 years, fanning our pamphlets against the hurricane, or starting to build a new revolutionary culture that will be able to turn on the old culture. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to wave pamphlets into the hurricane. God damn.
That was like right.
Bars.
Yeah, bars. Yeah. He said, he was serious about it. I mean, he even went on to talk about some of the culprits, from Bank of America, Chase Manhattan, and all these other folks who still exist right now.
I was gonna say, good thing we don't have to deal with them no more. Got rid of them. Yeah, you got all. I mean, all of these fools.
Yeah. So, and then he moved on to say, basically talks about the Black colony USA has little choice. We must enter the war on the side of the majorities of the world people, even if it means fighting the U.S. majority. He said, we fight to live, and we're learning to fight. It'll be war. It'll be a war to the knife if necessary. He said, we can't wait until the generation that thinks of blacks as niggas and the rest of the world as gooks, chinks, spics, etc., has been educated away. It may be the reverse that happens. We niggas and gooks may be blown away first, or if we survive, what will we inherit? A desert? That right there reminded me of CRT, critical race theory. You know what I'm saying? Because he's talking about we can't wait to they get some type of more morality, or to they're educated away, because they like okay, boom, you're gonna tell them, appeal to their moral conscience by saying that, okay, this is what your ancestors did, this is the history of whatever, so on and so forth. So somehow this is going to change our reality and our thought, and you're going to think differently now because you don't want to be like your ancestors. You understand what I'm saying? I think that he kind of touches on that to an extent. It's just it's so much and so many different avenues. So go ahead.
Just one other one on page 76. Another for me.
We're probably talking about the same ones, because I was actually going there. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, for me, because I felt like again he's calling me out, because again I feel like I either disagree and am right in doing so, or I'm just wrong again. Because on 76, he says the effectiveness of rallies and mass demonstrations has not come to an end. And I have been, I've been very John Henrik Clarke about this for a long time. Like enough with the marches, enough with the rallies. Like let's build some organizational infrastructure. let's do the much more difficult work. And I know people will say it's not one or the other, but I often feel like it does become one or the other, that so much effort goes into preparing one particular event or one particular program that it doesn't do enough of the difficult work building, organization building, the preparedness that you were talking about a minute ago, that George was advocating. So I was just like with the vote. I mean, I'm struggling with, I understand how he's interpreting it, but I struggle to, or maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Let me rephrase that. I'm struggling with coming to terms with all that he's advocating here. Okay. So he, if we can push the use of the demonstration to some other level, or maybe it's because I'm 50 years on and having seen 50 more years of rallies and mass demonstrations, I've now gotten to a different position that maybe George would have reached had he lived 50 more years and watched the evolution or the devolution of the rally and the marches and the thises and the that's. So yeah, let me.
Nah, and I agree with both of you. And that's crazy, right? Because of the fact that I've been organizing since like '86, right? So I don't have to say I've seen my share of rallies, marches, blase blah, right? Okay, we know all that. What I am saying, again, he said the effectiveness of rallies and mass demonstrations has not come to an end. Their purpose has diacritically altered, but the general tactic remains sound. Today, the rally affords us the opportunity to affect intensive organization of the projects and programs that will form the infrastructure of our communities. He also says if the mass rallies close, as they have in the past with a few speeches and a pamphlet, we can expect no more results than in the past. 2 hours later, the people will be Americans again instead of people, but going among the people at each gathering with clipboards and pens and painfully ascertaining that what each can contribute to clear-cut, carefully defined political projects is the distinction between intensive organization and the sterile, stilted attempts to build new unions, rank and file, or elect a socialist legislature. Now, what he's talking about right there
is what happened.
Right. Right. But what the reason why I would still promote the rallies and the protests is because it's the difference between what we're talking about right now is the difference between mobilizing and organizing. Right. So the mass rallies that don't have a plan of action and all they have is a bunch of people is mobilization. Yes, let's bring 1,000 people out to the street. We're upset, blah, blah, blah. If they leave without a plan of action and without any follow through, then that's not an organization. So the organizing comes with a plan of action. When he's talking about the clipboards, of course, today in 2023, we're not looking at clipboards and pens and shit. Some people may be, but you're looking to document, get people's information, so on and so forth. Boom, man, you want to learn more, sign up at this table over here, boom, 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 come out to these programs or whatever, so on and so forth. So for me, I was able, from rallies, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier, like the little rally speeches and all that. There are people that have been part of an organization for the last going on 20 years that I met at a rally or a protest. And some of them had no plans on becoming organizers. And now they're some of the sharpest organizers that I know. They had no plans on becoming organizers because of the fact that, they thought like what you're saying. We sick of the rallies and sick of the protests. But they're about to kill Troy Davis. I got to show my face. They killed this little boy out here. They killed Sean Bell. You know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers killed Cap. This is a 92. Man, now I'm going out there to stand with the people. And they had no plans. All they planned on doing was coming to the rally, but they were inspired. Our dear brother, Daruba Ben Wahad, one of the things he told me before was what got him into the movement, and he can correct me if I'm off with it. But he talked about how he was hanging with some white hippies or some shit in Harlem. And they said they were going to a rally down in, I forgot what rally it was, down in DC, and Dick Gregory was speaking, and that got him into the movement. So had they said no more rallies, no more marches, no more this, no more that, he might not have gotten inspired. For me, I was raised with a certain degree of politics, family-wise, right? But it was a Mumia Abu Jamal poster that I saw, and they was having a rally back in '86 in New York. And I took the train out there because I wanted to see, like, well, what they talking about? You know, who is this dude? I didn't even know nothing about Mumia, but I seen him with the locks and everything, and you know, and whatever information I could gather and whatnot. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, let me go see what's popping with that. You understand what I'm saying? So they have, because keep in mind, there's some people that don't know how to tap in to organizations.
So it's not that I get it and understand. Part of what I'm thinking
is tiring, of course.
Well, but part of what I'm thinking is if that much time and energy is put into building infrastructure and the organizational capacity of people doing that work, maybe you and others and others would be reached differently. That's all I would say. So that's it. That's it.
Yeah. But
that's it. You know.
But the thing is too, and keep in mind, you know, I've spoken at rallies and protests and shit like that where the folks that was putting it together had no politics at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, listen, man, I don't even want to. There's some shit I'm supposed to be.
So, like, just as
but
just as part of the fantasy and the thought exercises that I do all spend a lot, maybe too much time with is what, for instance, what if you had, or if I had learned about Mumia through an organized effort to free him. Yeah. In other words, to liberate him. Yeah. What if we turned on the news and somebody we never heard of before was freed in some daring prison escape? You know, like Great. What? That's all I'm saying. So I'm not.
But we've seen that. Meaning, right? We've seen that. You know what I'm saying? There was a woman named Asada Shakur. You know.
Yeah, but well,
you're talking about like now.
But well, so sort of yes and no, both and. So for instance, yes, and we learned about Asada not through rallies, but through that action, and right. And her notoriety is as much today because of that action. Certainly, I would say more so than any. There are no rallies for Asada. There are no demonstrations for Asada. So her name is carried through the organized capacity of that effort and then the autobiography.
Yeah, so we've done rallies here for Asada. Yes, our organization. Yeah.
But I'm not saying there have been none. What I'm saying is people don't know, no disrespect, but she's not known worldwide because of those efforts. She's known worldwide because of the liberation and then the book. Yes. So that's all I'm saying. But so I'm not. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
No. And I'm not disagreeing with you at all. In fact, I agree. But we'll quote our homie Redman. If we'll be all fucked up.
Well, there it is.
So the reality is, you know, we have to work with what we have. That's the guerrilla, right? The guerrilla is like, well, shit. If I had a tank. AR-15. If I had this, no, motherfucker, all you got is a butter knife.
Yeah, but to Fanon's point about the dream, though, all I'm saying is I don't want my dreams to be killed. So I'm still going to have. I still like my dreams and my thought process.
I'm with your dream.
Like for me, when I take my walks, when I'm stuck in traffic, when have a quiet moment, this is where my mind goes. How do you? Step 1, 2, 3, go from A, B to C. How would this work? What would the world look like?
Yeah, people get involved through inspiration, aspiration, or desperation.
Oh, there we go.
Right. So either we gotta inspire, they have to aspire, or they'll get desperate enough to get busy. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. You know, I see someone I hate the chat thing too.
See, I left the chat.
I always hear people talk about Chris Dorner. The ex-LAPD, I'm conflicted about that. I don't care about a cop that comes to consciousness, man. You know what I'm saying? It's good for you. You know, I'm glad you did it, but I don't really celebrate him personally because, you know, I mean, look, dog, what was you doing before that? You know,
so I like your point when it comes to Dorner and having read his manifesto or whatever you want to call it at the time. I don't, maybe I hear you. Maybe we don't need to celebrate the man as much as I think we need to acknowledge and celebrate, maybe not even the action so much, but for me, the contradictions that led him to the actions.
Right.
Because when you read what he said led him to those, to his conclusions, those are the very real contradictions of race, class, police violence, colonization, and all of that. So he was dealing with, at least on paper, and maybe, you know, whatever,
right.
He was dealing with what George is talking about. We, you know, it's whatever about who he was and what he was doing and how he got where he got. But, you know, but similarly, again, you know, George wasn't a cop per se, but he wasn't no radical at the beginning either. So
yeah,
like,
well, I mean,
like, you know, we gotta, you know, I want to leave a little room for, you know, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Okay. But listen, so on there was on page 78, he does something else. Man, when he talks about Salvador Allende,
yes,
and practically predicts what happens a few years later with the September 11th assassination, or the ultimately it's this assassination. However, he took his own. However, his life was taken, it was ultimately caused by the invasion. But he's saying, George, that is, if you don't address the fundamental issue of property relations, as he keeps talking about, property relations is a phrase. If we had the Kindle version, I'm sure it would come up thousands of times. Property relations, property relations, property relate. If you don't address that, there ain't no capitalism and socialism. It ain't no both and. If you do this, George says, socialist governments which attempt to coexist with capitalist economics completely forget the economic motive of human social history. And that underlying property relations is going to demand that the capitalist class come for your head.
That's right.
I was like, wow, I forgot that he had been talking about this with that level of specificity and using that example. So I thought,
bring that back one more time, man, because that's one that folks need to rewind and get a clear.
He even goes on, and this is no offense, 50 years, you know, past or present to anything that could be misunderstood in today's world about what George says here about making a reference to gender and sexual identity. But he says, because the full sentence, well, the sentence that I quoted was, socialist governments which attempt to coexist with capitalist economics completely forget the economic motive of human social history. The next line is, revisionism has given birth to countless socialistic hermaphrodites, always to the detriment of people's power. So again, no disrespect, I think intended. It's what his point is. You can't be both in this case. You can't be capitalist and socialist. You can't be free and enslaved. You can't be, to Jamil Alamin's point, there ain't no second-class citizen. You either free or you're not.
Pregnant. Right. You can't be a little bit pregnant. Yeah.
So and he's saying, if you forget the underlying property relations in the motive of human social history, the material motives, if you then you there was no way a move for Allende wasn't coming, and George was trying to say, anyway, you got to be ready to you have to deal with that. You can't do both, and you have to get rid of one.
Right. Can't serve two masters. But that is the thing, man. It's like what Fred Douglass was talking about. You want the rain without the thunder. You know what I'm saying? It don't go like that. You know, and that's and he went on to talk about that in regards. I mean, right before that, just talking about talking about armed struggle. On page 77, he said, he talked about, he said, however, as we start the projects that will eventually move the workers and the whole community into open conflict with the ruling class, with the ruling clique, my own personal observations lead me to the independent conclusion that the political vanguard and even its early project need to be defended. Clearly, the political cadre needs protection from the enemy culture's military, its secret. Okay, so that right there, that part right there was talking about the defense of the political cadre. But right under, he said, armed struggle is at the very heart of revolution. If the problems of the people cannot be redressed because the necessary resources are in the hands of a relatively few families and individuals, it means we are going to have to seize this property. Seizing property has always meant some form of war, some form of armed struggle. If history is our guide, It clearly records that nothing of any great value has ever changed hands without a struggle, or at least a show of or threat of violence. Men simply don't surrender what they think of as their privilege and property except by force. History itself is economically motivated class struggle.
So, but this is why I'm saying it, where I got stuck in that loop a few minutes ago, because on 79, when he's talking about the need to protect the vanguard and ultimately to protect what he described previously as the survival programs, he's saying they're going to claim that our clothing projects, the people's bazaars, the people's stores, and decentralized cottage industries are fronts for stolen property. The establishment will claim that the vanguard party is feeding and clothing people with goods stolen from the enemy, from the old enemy culture. And on he goes on that page, which is why I made a note to myself to raise this question. The note I wrote here is that this is the real answer to buying power and co-ops. That he's saying you can't do this without being able to engage in armed struggle to protect it, because even if they don't wipe it out militarily, they're going to claim it's stolen. They're going to justify some police action against your stuff. They're going to move the goalposts, so to speak. So and then I was even thinking, listen what Kali Akuno told us in his recent visit about Cooperation Jackson, to undercut the cooperative effort, the political effort. Those with actual power are literally scuttling the whole city of Jackson's resources, moving people out. There's white flight, there's resource strangulation, Jackson, Mississippi is now smaller than Columbia, Maryland. He was pointing out that's the point, as I'm interpreting it here, he's showing not that Cooperation Jackson is wrong or doing something wrong. He's showing the limitations of these efforts in this context, that as soon as you start doing something good, you can't defend it. And they just move down the street or cut you off.
Right.
And
that's what's going on in Atlanta as well. When you talk about Cop City, you know what I'm saying? You talk about electoral politics. There's no confusion. They're exercising force and power. You know what I'm saying? They've murdered, they've kidnapped, they've falsely accused. You talking about over several dozen people that they accused of domestic terrorism. You understand what I'm saying? They shot a boy 57 times. 57 times with his hands up. And they still talking about someone's a domestic terrorist. They claim he was firing back. No gun residue, no ballistic residue, nothing, no powder on the hands or anywhere else. But this is how they get down. Then for 15 hours, they have over 200 people plead their cases, state their situation. Folks came from all over the country. You know what I'm saying? From Melina Abdullah to Reverend Yearwood, all of them. And you know what they said at the end? Yeah, all right, well, anybody else want to talk? How about you over there? Oh, you too? Cool, we got a couple more hours. Shut it down. You know what I'm saying? This is what their power looks like. But then they'll sit up and tell you, or you'll get confused talking about voting, talking about whether you want to vote Democrat, Republican, or third party. All of this is part of, the maintaining, and I think that George talked about that, the maintaining of the establishment. This is what it is. Just your participation is saying that I co-sign with this terror. I co-sign with this hegemony. And this is what it's about. And boy, colonialism will confuse you in so many different ways.
Yeah. Anyway,
it looks hopeless. You can't read George and then walk around with rose colored lenses and think everything's going to be hunky dory.
But at the same time, when I read George, even if what he's saying is terrifying, I never get a sense, and I'm not saying you were saying this, but I don't get a sense of hopelessness. I get a sense of quite the opposite.
Right.
That I get a sense that it can be done. I just don't know exactly how. I haven't figured that part out yet. But it's a yet. I feel like the scientists talk about, I don't know the universe's secrets yet, but we're going to get them, So anyway, that's so I know technically we over halftime here, and we've only really made it like 5 pages into this section. So I want to, maybe we could, I don't know if there were any other major points in this section that you wanted to make sure we got to. Although I'm always happy to, obviously we can always come back and extend things later on, but
we can, I think that we touched on a lot. I think that if anything else, it might be the American mind, just him comparing the U.S. to Frankenstein, where he's basically talking about how Dr. Frankenstein created this monster, whatever, and how the monster was basically an extension of Dr. Frankenstein's warped mind, of his narcissism, of his insanity, so on and so forth, his delusions. And then eventually, when the monster realized what was what, it drove him crazy. He drove him mad and he started bugging out. That is what, and that's a great analogy for the United States, because you're talking about how, and even, we even call the monster Frankenstein.
Right, we got that backwards.
Yeah, but Dr. Frankenstein was the doctor. But we got it backwards here in America as well, because of the fact that we call ourselves Americans. You know what I'm saying? We're a creation of the monster. The monster was the United States of America. We are the victims, and now we're going mad. You know what I'm saying? Because we're realizing what's what. And that's what maybe Chris Dorner might have did. Talking about his manifesto. But go ahead.
I'm very glad you brought that up, because I did queue up. If we can, I'd like to share this little clip from our video mixtape that talks about this piece right here. And you can hear, first of all, again, shout out to Bashi Rose on the editing and the visuals, but you can hear David Johnston in the being one of George's comrades narrating this piece real quick. So just a couple seconds here of this from our video mixtape, which is linked in the show description if you want to watch. But this was the section on that point right there.
It was the only course of action that could have been taken to demonstrate that we're not going to allow you to just kill us, without some kind of repercussions, And like I said, it's one of the things, George talks about in his book, Blood in My Eye. He talks about Frankenstein's monster. Well, the system is Dr. Frankenstein, and we are the monsters that it created. But that's no different than the system in general. I mean, America has created a lot of Frankensteins. They go by different names: Noriega in Panama, Osama bin Laden. Now we got ISIS, and they've created a lot of monsters. And the same thing applied to us. On a micro level, they created monsters. And the result of their creations, and all the violence and conflict that erupted and took place in the prisons.
Anyway, just a little clip there.
I never saw that. Yeah. I gotta go back and check out the mixtape, man. I'm sleeping on the job, man. I don't remember that part, but it's excellent that you actually had it queued up. You know what I mean? That was because it is the analogy is wild, but it's so clear. You know what I'm saying? So we're all like mini Frankensteins,
right?
And going mad out this piece, conditioned, created.
Yeah, no, I mean, and absolutely. So as he says, on page 92, George writes that Frankenstein's need for a servant was an expression of his diseased ego. So he created a huge, pathologically strong, demented, ugly creature. He censored the beast's activity by making him underintelligent. He erected institutions flexible enough to keep the giant working, but rigid enough to forestall any growth of his mental faculties. A brain was grudgingly attached to the beast to provide a way for it to act. The beast worked and fought the enemies of his creator. The beast was content to watch the creator flourish. He lived through his creator, and when he finally saw himself as he was, he went mad.
Right, right.
And George, I mean, George was pun intended a beast, and that's anyway. But he talks about this as a result. I'm looking at the next page. He's talking about this as a pre-ordering, as a result of the stratified slave state, by the pre-ordering that is done by the 0.1%, which is the ruling class, which is still exactly in effect today. It's 0.1% in this country, roughly 400 families that have all the wealth, is still to this day, more so even. And George is, so George is talking about, he even prefigures the book that some of us love, the Economic Hitman book, where on page 93, he's talking about if, the Rockefellers and them, if, like, in other words, if you don't get down, lay down. Like if your country, if your economy doesn't do what those who own it want you to do, then they will come and send some other entity to finish you off. I mean, it's
the original goons, the original gangsters. You know what I mean? And he lays it out in a way that is so official.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to the point, without it being some type of fantasy situation. Just knowing the fact that we have the opportunity to read this book 50 years later, 52 years later. And this is his last will and testament to a degree. You're talking about this book 6 days before he transitioned, it was sent out to be published. And we have the opportunity to really just check this out, man, and just man, it to an extent it's almost eerie. You know what I'm saying? To an extent it's almost eerie. But I think that we might have given you all enough for today. I don't know how y'all feel about what we've delivered. What's your thoughts on the books, man, as far as what you all read?
Oh yeah, I would love if you want. I'm gonna step out for a quick second.
Handle your business, brother.
There are a couple things that I would like to bring up left, but I would definitely love to hear if you want to take a couple from the chat. I think it's a great idea, but I'll be right back.
Yeah. I mean, comments or whatever. Let us know. What's your thoughts? What are some things that you all got out of it? Shout out to Hiram. Yes. Marxism taught to him by W.L. Nolan. Yes, and W.L. Nolan was definitely a great individual as well. One of his partners in forming the BGF, Black Guerrilla family. So we will go extensive on dive deep on W.L. Nolan, especially during Black August. Of course, him and Hugo Yogi Purnell, indeed, who is now an ancestor, who was assassinated a few years ago. Fifth Lord wants to know, how do we deal with state capitalism today? It seems to be a wave. It's disturbing. Sobering in your face realization that lays it out and forces you to either act or not for me. love-inspired expression of icy disdainful hatred. Yeah. So we definitely appreciate you all stopping through here, man, and rocking with us. We'd appreciate even more if you share what it is you're watching. We have a lot more coming up, and I know you have some things you wanted to touch on.
Well, just real quick, I heard what you said, that Hiram was raising about Nolan and even here, Blood in My Eye was a combination of the Communist Manifesto and Regis Debray's book on Foucault theory applied to George's condition inside the walls of the U.S. as a whole. Yeah, thank you for that, Hiram. I have not read Debray's book, but the Foucault theory is discussed a little bit in Blood in My Eye, and it's also discussed in that Who Killed George Jackson book, where that same point is made, that more well, I don't know what Debray says, but in the Who Killed book, it said that he get the Foucault theory a lot from Castro and the Cuban Revolution, and the idea that I'm not, but that the way I interpreted it was that you need something to spark and start, or that causes, that is the catalyst for the revolution. So but you know, if Hiram and anybody else wants to come on and talk more specifically about that at some point, I would love to do that. But to the point that Hiram was raising earlier about Nolan teaching or bringing dialectics and Marxism to George is very clear on page 109 of this section. He says monopoly capital is the enemy, and he does talk about the need not only to focus on as he says, the goal is always the same: the creation of an infrastructure capable of fielding a people's army. So he's, and my point is that he's recognizing that there's a need to develop this army, but that this army is going to have to be multiracial. It's going to have to be somewhat diverse, and he recognizes the role of that is George, of capitalism in manipulating the races against one another. So he's certainly, in this sense, following that Marxist line that racism is a font of capitalism, and that, as he says here, monopoly capital is the ultimate enemy. Which I just think is interesting. Again, as we continue to struggle, I have my own personal struggles with the race class argument and debate. But on pages 110 and 111, he really does go back, into some detail on his views on class and race, which he says we make it possible to begin to address one of the most complex psychosocial byproducts that economic man with his private enterprise has manufactured: racism. So and then he talks about the three categories of racists and so on and so forth. But anyway, I just think it's important that whatever we think, and this is why I keep saying, even if folks want to not fully embrace Marxism or adopt it or want to work with some white man's theory, we have to appreciate what beauty Africans have pulled out of that wing of thought in terms of developing an analysis that becomes threatening. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
Yeah, no, and I think that, again, man, because folks are always arguing about not listening to a white man and all this other shit, man. The reality is this right here, man. When I'm fighting my enemy, when I'm picking up a weapon, there are things that I would prefer, but if I only have a rock that came from Greece and I can crush my enemy, then I'm gonna use that rock that came from Greece.
I'm gonna use the African rocks.
I'm gonna wait for a Kemetic rock. Like, get your ass out of here, man. I mean,
no, George does say, this section basically ends with him saying black, brown, and white are all victims together. Now, again, in context, this is what I love about George, because
I don't totally agree with all of that. But,
I understand, but even where we might struggle with that, this is not some punk, we all holding hands and in this together. This is
Jackson's version of the Rainbow Coalition. We're not doing that. But go ahead.
He's very clear. Like, I get what what capitalism does in terms of pitting us against one another, and I'm not confused about white supremacists becoming an enemy or what I might be having to do in response to that recognition. But it's saying, if we're going to be united, it's on the basis of a people's army.
Right.
That very much speaks to me. I don't give a damn about us eating and sitting and loving and walking together. I don't give a damn. The question is, will you fight with me? That's the only thing I'm fundamentally interested. I don't care if you're going to sleep with me, hang with me, give me a hug, watch movies with me. Will you? Oh, that's what I love about George, boy. I tell you.
Man, listen, man. Shout out to the peoplesarmy.org. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the great work
Right
that the
on.
Siakus do over there. You know what I mean? So I gotta go like that.
That's
but anyway. Yeah,
I mean, and that's why it's shout out to Cornel West Theory that with their track, Would You Kill? And it's not calling people to kill or inviting people to do harm. It's raising that question that I've always loved. Don't ask me what you would die for. Don't tell me you would die for me. I don't care about that.
You're gonna die regardless. You know what I'm saying? That's not
will you get busy for me?
Question. Ultimately.
That's
yeah.
And would I for you? That's what determines, like, what would I do if I see a person in, you know, what would I be willing to do for them? That's or for us. I think a better way of putting it. So
no, and that is the ultimate right there. You know what I'm saying? That's the bittersweet. That's what we don't want to talk about, because it's easy to say that I'll die for the struggle. I mean, it's like what Malcolm talked about with the sit-ins. He said a chunk that's doing sit-in. He said an old lady could sit in. You understand what I'm saying? We do enough sitting. And that's the reality of it, man. We have to be able to have somewhere within our soul, within our spirits, the heart to move beyond just what's basic. And I think that that's the part that we fall short oftentimes. You know, one of the things I loved about George too, he's talking about how him and Jonathan weren't, they didn't give good speeches. You understand what I'm saying? And it's crazy how we look at who the best rappers are. And I'm not talking about hip hop. I'm talking about just quote unquote movement rappers. You know, you have these folks with all these great sounding words, but those actions are short. But then you have folks, and it's rare that you can find the fighters who are great orators as well. You know what I mean? Some fighters are just like, look, we get busy, we know what it takes, and this is what it's going to be. We can lead it. We understand revolution, but theory without practice don't really mean that thing. And you got to think, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate George just having this this level of politics, you know, and study and that desire, because this is a practice. This is training. This is the gym right here. When you're talking about being locked up for 11 years, training yourself to become a revolutionary, not to get out. He wasn't in the law library trying to figure out how to get out of there. He was like, look, we got to take this down, and what he say, sooner begun, sooner done. You know what I'm saying? It's going, you know, it's going to happen. You know, so definitely shout out to George for that work, man.
Let me stop messing with S. Murphy. If we fight with you, will you revert back to the ways of Jews and Christians? Well, I don't know to whom you are speaking, but other than, I'm speaking for myself, other than the biological connection I have, nothing about me is the ways of Jews and Christians. So I don't even know what you would be talking about there. So, but I've not, so there you go. Nobody's ignoring you. Okay. I don't know. You know, I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
I don't know what that meant. Maybe that's between.
I don't know what it meant either, but they were accusing us of ignoring the question. They kept repeating it. So I just felt like I don't know.
What was the question? I didn't get the question.
Oh, the question was, will we revert to the way, if we fight with you, will you revert to the ways of Jews and Christians?
Well, see, the first problem with that question is if we fight with you, you look about black as me on that picture. So I don't know.
I don't know
who he is. You know, I think the first thing we should do is get our pronouns right and figure out who we are. You know what I'm saying? That should be the first thing. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. Perhaps I'm confused here, but that is part of the problem, my friend. You know what I'm saying? Look, if we fight for you, it don't even matter if you fight for me or not.
Yeah,
we gonna fight. So if you do fight, I mean, you wouldn't be fighting for me. You'd be fighting for us.
but just real. So I did find something that on page 86, George says something that speaks to the questions that I think I got us stuck on a little while ago. That I wanted to pull back up here, maybe for the sake of my own clarity or memory. But he says on page 86, because this goes back to that question of the survival. Total repression and genocide are not possible if we organize ourselves for survival first. If we first construct the commune, a sense of community, a common interest of class. So not necessarily a literal physical space in terms of a commune, because he's already said we can't defend a singular, we can't have spaces that require defense. There can't be a front line. But in our mind, intellectually, politically, if we recognize ourselves as a part of a commune, of a class, we can do some remarkable things. And I think that's pretty impressive. So I just wanted to bring that back since I was raising so many questions. I still have so many questions about, how we do what we need. How would we do what we need to do? But anyway, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, a lot of, we like a lot of what George is talking about. Yeah, I'm still, pro farmland. You need places to train. And we have to, the fact is, we have to be able to defend anything we have, or we won't be able to have it. I mean, shit, your significant other wants to be defended. She don't want you to be a chump. You know what I'm saying? Somebody come up to him disrespectfully, and you just sit there like, he talking to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of the whole program. So I think that it has to take another particular angle. S. Murphy, we're gonna give you a little bit more airtime and say, you say, are we not westernized? I don't know who we are. Again, I'm not westernized. Unfortunately, I'm colonized. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, there's a difference. And we're not looking to be westernized, quote unquote. And I don't think most of us on this platform are looking to even be American. So we're just, we're struggling with where we are and fighting to exist beyond this. But anyway,
just real quick, I don't know if you have a response to this. Ray Johnson asks, this is kind of off topic, but what could I read, or do y'all plan on content to explore how the illicit economy is used to fuel the legitimate one? I don't know. I don't think we have anything planned, but one thing I would recommend that deals with this is the work of John Potash, Drugs as Weapons Against Us. He has both a documentary and a film of the same name, and I think it's on Amazon even. Drugs as Weapons Against Us. He goes very much into a lot of detail, actually, about how the illicit drug trade must continue because it fuels an underground economy of banking, of policing, of imprisonment, of and that the biggest players are involved in supporting that trade. So he more than anyone I'm aware of does a lot on this topic. Drugs as Weapons Against Us is fascinating work. But Kalonji, I don't know if you have any others off the top of your head, and I think we should look into this at some point. Yeah.
No, and of course we've had John Potash on several times. I know you, myself, had him on BPM Renegade Co-Chair.
Yeah, he's been on. Yeah. Check the channel.
Yeah. But I mean, really, I mean, when you say illicit, right? I mean, I think that pretty much everything we do in the United States, they'll find a way to criminalize it. And to me, the prisons is an illicit economy. I don't even see that as legitimate. You know what I'm saying? So enslavement, mass
capitalism is
incarceration.
illicit.
Yeah, capitalism is illicit. So I guess it goes by, and I did notice you had quotes, so you know what I'm saying, I ain't tripping on that. But yeah, I think that the US itself is a crime. It is a result of a criminal act. The fact that we live here and we're speaking English, you know, is criminal. You know what I'm saying? The fact that S. Murphy said we were westernized is criminal because it is a result of a criminal act.
S. Murphy's behavior in the chat is illicit.
Is it? And we not shout out to S. Murphy. We don't know you, bro.
Yeah, shout out. We don't know.
We're not trying to diss, man. Just having some fun. But yeah, no, I mean, just the fact that we're saying that we even calling ourselves Western is a result of a criminal act, of illicit activity. So I think that we have to redefine what is criminal and what the criminal told us was criminal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, this is, I had tweeted yesterday something around colonialism and how, to a great extent, like under colonialism, the colonized will, when they're given positions in power, quote unquote power, they abuse their authority. They abuse other colonized people, whether they're I mean, you could be an agent of the state, a cop, or a security guard at the mall, or hall monitor. I mean, I remember being in school. You had certain cats that was hall monitors, and they was hell. It's like, dude, I gotta write you up. Like, dude, you know I'm gonna whip
they put that little sash on them, and all of a sudden they out there.
They're empowered. You know what I'm saying? You a hall monitor. You know what I'm saying? You a security guard. How many times security guards follow you around in stores? They making like $7,000-8,000 an hour, and they're willing to risk their lives. There's a security guard that saw something here in Atlanta at one of the malls. A security dude shot a dude, a black security guard, because he got into him with an argument about if he paid for the pants or not. He didn't even work for the store. He was like a temp security guard and just straight shot this dude because they got into it because he wanted to see the dude receipt. And the dude was like, man, you get out of my face. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
Listen,
you just pay for it.
Right.
You
mentioned,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you mentioned my military. You know, and I'm actually working on writing a little something about this now, as a matter of fact, that going from E3 to E4 in the Navy was seen as, I think at the time, it was the biggest jump in pay from one rank to the other that you will ever have. And the reason that they do that is because that's your first step. Going from E3 to E4 is your first step into petty officer status, and you get that first chevron on your arm.
And you felt good about it.
And it changes. It's the first major social change among you and your peer group who you came in with. You're all E3s, everybody's arm is empty. Then you pass the test. So me and you was hanging out sweeping the floor yesterday, and then today you get the chevron on and you stand there, Jared, you sweep the floor. Right. And I'm like, what?
I'm the boss now.
And it E equals enlisted, Leah. It's the designation for, and then when you're an officer, you're an O, 1, 2, 3, etc. So E is enlisted, and when you join, everybody's E1, 2, or 3. You just you know nothing on your arm, and then E4 comes. You get that and all of a sudden you the hall monitor.
Exactly.
You out there like boss.
But you know what that reminds me of? Have you ever seen the Stanford Prison Experiment?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That right there, if folks haven't seen the Stanford Prison Experiment, I would suggest you go watch that. This was a experiment where this university professor, I can't think of his name, he actually
gunline boss.
Gunline boss. Yeah. This university professor at Stanford, I think he was a psychology professor. And he did an experiment where he paid folks, where they decided they were going to pay folks $15 an hour to participate in a mock jail or prison situation, right? So some of the folks they hired would be prison guards, and the others would be inmates. And it was supposed, yes, Dr. Zimbardo. Yes, thank you, Nello. The others were supposed to
No, my
be,
bad. Yeah, I got, yes,
my
sorry.
you know the same thing. The others were supposed to be inmates. And it didn't take 24 hours for, now these are all students. It didn't take 24 hours for the students who were given the title correctional officer to start bugging out. Now, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, whatever, but I'd suggest that you all go check that out, Stanford prison experiment, because that speaks to what we're talking about, how colonialism is so devastatingly effective and impactful when it comes to the psyche of the colonized. I mean, it's like it shows you to a great extent. Oftentimes, the slave just wants to be acknowledged by their master, and they want to feel that particular, like you said, from E3 to E4. You know what I mean? Now you telling the next, now you have some authority. You can't wait to tell the next cat what to do. Such. And there's people like that in the movement circles. You know,
Listen,
up in this thing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So I just saw Bryce putting this in the chat a couple times, and I want to say, make sure you all have the bell rung, because I don't know what others on the platform are doing, but there is a Marigella, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's a discussion and review coming shortly, maybe this week even. Okay. So just make sure you got the bell rung, because I got it. I'm definitely doing one. I don't know when exactly, and I don't know, if anyone else is planning to do something. Maybe we could all plan to do something, but it's very much on the top of my list of things to happen this week. And I'm so just stay tuned. Make sure you got to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, so all of those things. And then speaking of which, tomorrow and all week, the Remix Morning Show is back. And I think tomorrow, what time tomorrow is your Jill Stein and
4 p.m. Yes, 4 p.m. EST. We will have former Green Party presidential candidate, two-time candidate Jill Stein.
That's right.
Along with her 2016 vice presidential candidate Ajamu Baraka. And they'll be talking about we're going to be talking about the Green Party, what it means to Black people, what the whole Cornel West nomination would mean. We're gonna get into it. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta ask them what did y'all say to West? What was that conversation like? No, but that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I don't know if this is Jill's first time on the platform. Have you interviewed her in the past? Or?
I have not. I have not. Okay. So I interviewed Ajamu, well, obviously several times, but about the Green Party, I've only interviewed him, I think, once when he first signed on. This is years ago. To do the Green Party. So on this subject, I've not talked to either one of them. So I'm like I said, I can't wait. I'm gonna make sure I'm at least in the audience. I got to figure out. I got to check the calendar.
Regardless, let me know.
But either way, I'm just saying I'm very much happy that you put this together. I think it's going to be great. Yeah. So,
yeah, I thought it would be good because, of course, we have Cornell coming back on next week, I believe, next Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday, the 28th.
Is that next week? Yeah, it is next week. Yep. A week from Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah.
2 p.m.
In the meantime, let's hear, folks want to know what the deal is with the Green Party. What's your stance? Where you at in the Black community? You know what I'm saying? How does that impact and affect, the people that are saying, a third party would be a problem for the Democratic Party, or the Republicans, whoever,
Good.
So we'll be checking that out. Make sure you all tune in 4 p.m. tomorrow. I want to point out.
Was George right? Should we be abandoning this and hoping for? Man.
I mean, we already know my stance. I don't, to quote Biz, Reagan is depressed, but I voted for Shirley Chisholm. So, so that's how I feel about that. But I want to point out, because folks mentioned Phil Zimbardo, who was the dude that did the Stanford prison experiment. It only lasted for 6 days because it got so bad. But I also want to say that they ended that experiment. I don't know if it's coincidence or what. It was ended August 20th, 1971, the day before George Jackson was assassinated.
Yo,
both happen to be in California, by the way.
You got, folks, I did a little thing about a little segment of it, but you got to go check the Orasami Burton interview most recently on Millennials Are Killing Capitalism, because he goes all into that right there. and connects Daruba's stuff to George's stuff to that right there. I mean, it's very well done. Like, so yeah, definitely, that's all of those are good points. Nabi, yours, that Burton interview with them was.
I got to definitely come back because Burton always comes with
Burton is, and his new research. I can't wait. His book is coming. All this research coming out. I mean, it's about to be.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna let y'all. I'm gonna give y'all a teaser real quick. There will also be a series coming soon around COINTELPRO, featuring the likes of Daruba Ben Wahad and our main man Bob Boyle. So we're gonna get some extensive pieces. So make sure you all tune in, tap in.
Oh man,
I don't feel like y'all loving us like that, man. We only got 27,000 subscribers.
A COINTELPRO series.
We need y'all to tap in.
So I do think we should remind folks of Joy James's inducement to have everybody bring at least one subscriber. I think that should easily happen. And if you've already done it, do it again. Get somebody else.
I would definitely, new article from Inquest coming very soon, possibly this week. I wanted to point that out. But go ahead, though, brother.
And
it's gonna be some fire. But go ahead.
And I just want to also encourage people to catch up to Quaker Anarchist's social media game as it relates to BPM. I don't think anybody does more to like, share, tweet, retweet. Every time I turn around, I see Quaker Anarchists on some BPM stuff. So I would love to see if we could get a little bit more of that reverberating. But anyway, you can, absolutely.
I think Quaker Anarchists is doing better promo than us right now.
I think so. That's what I'm saying. I think it's like they are our social media team. It's like unofficially. So definitely thank you. And we should. And please make sure you whatever you can do to support the channel. Immaterially, just like, share, subscribe. Materially, you can find ways to support at blackpowermedia.org. Okay, Holly, my bad. You too. I'm sorry. I'm not. Okay, let's get a healthy competition going.
Let's go. Competition. Let's see who can promote BPM the most. We got to give away some goods and whatnot real soon. I don't know what you think. We got to start giving some giveaways. I tell y'all what.
All right, Silberg, but subscribers, if not subs, we're not. We don't. Okay, if that is I don't know what other language supporters.
Well, I'm gonna say this right here, right? If we can do, what are we at? 27,000 right now?
27,000.
We do we get to 50,000 in the next 3 months. We'll hit 2 cities, BPM live, 2 cities free. A panel, live show, and I'll even say we might now I'm about to go overboard. I was gonna say fly some people out. We ain't gonna do all that. But we may pick some folks from the audience to come out and join us.
Well, I will. This is what I would do.
Okay.
Since we've just
challenge.
If we hit, how many months did you say? Like if we're
say the next 3 months, we can hit 50K.
So if by the end of August we hit 50,000, by September 1st we have 50,000 subscribers. If we set up a BPM live, I will commit to covering the travel for at least one remixer or what did you call them today? For Guerrilla,
Gorillas in the
Mist. A Guerrilla in the Mist, a remixer. I will cover the travel costs, coach.
You know what? And I'm gonna say we're gonna say BPM will cover another one. I'm not gonna say I am, since I'm a.
Or we could at least say, maybe we could say, if not another one, then BPM would cover the room or something like that. Something like that. We will cover. We will do something to honor the 50,000 mark. That would be pretty impressive.
We're gonna say by the end of August, end of Black August, we can pull 50. Now I know some of y'all are like 50,000. How are we gonna get 50,000? We have 27,000 subscribers. That means if 27,000 people decided to get one person to subscribe each,
we will be over the line. We will be over. That's it.
There you go.
That's all it takes.
We're not doing Spirit Island.
You get
We're gonna make sure that send us your real name, your government, El Chunko. You definitely get Spirit Airline. Nothing but the best, El Chunko. You get a soul plane flown by the air doctor.
Ooh, you know what? You know what? You know what, OB? I'm not going to hate on the Pan-Africanism. Let's get there. Let's make this a happy problem for me to deal with.
Let's go.
If we get 50,000 by the end of August, and somebody and how we what are we doing? A raffle? Is that how we would do it? If we however, I don't know how we would select the one.
Yeah,
but
we'll figure it out.
If they overseas, hey, we'll make it. I'll make it work. That's my commitment. I'll make it work.
I'm a boss up and say we're gonna go even further. I'm gonna say that 50K every 3 months we'll do a show just like that and fly someone else in new.
So every 3 months, another 50,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do.
Why not? That's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair, actually. If you
feel like doing
50,000 subscribers in 3 months, somebody getting a free trip to something.
But we're gonna give one, and we're gonna give some t-shirts and stuff like that away too. We're not just gonna say just one trip. We ain't gonna be stingy.
I didn't. This is all unauthorized and unsanctioned. So
I hope she don't watch this particular channel.
She heard me. Yeah. She's waiting. She's waiting. She over there like, let's see if they get this 50,000.
No doubt. Miami 6/19/20. Great day today. Great show. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You know what I'm saying?
So Dr. James will be back next week. We're going to move on to the next section, which is pages 114 to 140. So if you can keep up, please do.
Yes.
And from me and you know, Kalonji can speak for himself. I thank you very much. I really love this. And Kalonji, thanks to you too, man. This has been, I love that we're doing this, man.
Yes, brother. Thank you so much for holding it down and keeping it moving. We will have some GIU shirts soon as well.
That would be fly too.
So look out for that. You know, I see our manifesto just happened to ask at the same time. So we'll make sure y'all, but y'all gotta show some love on GIU, man. We ain't gonna just have folks walk around with the t-shirts on. This is
EYL has a new logo too. So yeah, we
saw the EYL logo.
Look, we get
logo.
Diallo did that, I think.
Okay.
I
was gonna give Geechee credit.
No, I don't think Geechee did that one. But so yeah, a lot of stuff coming. So again, just like, share, subscribe, join the channel if you can. Make sure you got the bell rung so you don't miss stuff as it drops. And please do tap in also at blackpowermedia.org, where you get everything and more, and everything is all there. So hey, that's it. Peace if you're willing to fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say. That's it. Perfect way to end it. So fucking dope. And we'll catch you next time here at GIU and BPM. Peace, everybody. Thanks again.
Peace.